Hello friends and welcome to Mountain Patriot Homestead. I hope that you can see that I am multitasking this morning. I'm trying to snap some beans and get this video out because it's been a while since I've done a video because things have been kind of crazy here on the homestead. As you can hear, there's some noise going on in the background. That'll be happening on and off during this video because if you missed my recent community post, we had a fire. Our equipment barn caught on fire, and so we're trying to get it taken down so that way we can get the replacement back up. And my husband and a neighbor are down there, and that's what they're working on now. They're using one of those big sky lifts or whatever you call it to get the tin off of it and take down the burned wood and everything that needs to come down. So that's what they're doing down there. I have been out in the garden this morning because I had to just get out there and get some things taken care of. And summertime is here, as I'm sure it is for a lot of you. The temperatures, the last couple of days, the temperatures were wonderful. It felt more like fall than summer. But today, summertime is back. I was in the garden just like my mister was down working on the barn at 6:30 this morning, because we know that if we don't get an early start, we're going to regret it later. So I've been out there and I've picked 3 types of beans, picked 2 types of tomatoes, I picked peppers, I've watered the melons. Hopefully everything's taken care of in the garden for a couple of days anyway. Now it's just putting up everything that I've picked. Again, I'm sorry about this wind, guys, but I don't want to do this in the house, and if I get on the other side, I'm not going to be able to stand it very long. Anyway, the topic, I guess, let me let this gust of wind pass. Every time I start talking, it'll die down, and then it's like a hurricane blows through, so maybe this will pass for just a second. Or maybe not. I'll just keep going. The topic of this video is because of a recent comment that was made to me that it was one of those that you can't even be mad because it was funny. I found it funny. Somebody made the comment to me, "It must be nice to be rich." Now, I understand that wealth is in the eye of the beholder, because, you know, what is the old saying of something about a man who has no shoes is still rich to the man who has no feet, or something like that. Correct me down in the comments. I know y'all know what I'm talking about. But so I understand that just being able to have a roof over your head can make you rich to the man who's living under a bridge. Having beans and cornbread makes you rich to the person who's going hungry, just got their belly growling because they have nothing to put in it. You know, I get that. But what I found amusing about it is that the person that was telling me this drives a vehicle that is much newer than mine and goes on faraway vacations, and I guess just has different priorities than what I have, because they look at us as being rich because we own some property. It's not like we own a section of land. We own little under 30 acres here. And to some people, that's a lot of land, especially if you're living in an apartment. But to those people that own 4 sections of land, it's nothing. But to us, it's enough. And, to the person that said it, they're living in town, and their yard's small, and just, they don't have the land that we have. So they think that we're rich because we do. What they don't know is all the years that we lived in smaller housing. We drove old cars. We still drive old cars. Our newest truck is 10 years old. My truck turned 20 this year. She got a bath yesterday, and she looks so pretty. So, she's just waiting for her next 20th birthday to get her next bath. So, but that's it. I guess it must be nice just kind of stuck in my head of it must be nice. Well, yeah, I went to the grocery store yesterday and looked at some of the prices. Now, I don't go to the grocery store often. I only go when we absolutely have to have stuff, because I hate going to the grocery store. I hate shopping. I'm not a shopper. Even window shopping, you might get me out going to look at an antique shop, but anything I go to, 2 hours is my limit. These people that shop all day, don't invite me, because I just know I'm not going to do it. But I was at the grocery store yesterday, just ran in for a few items that were on the list, and got to looking around at prices, and I went by the meat department, and it's like, wow. So I just kept going on past the meat department, and thank the Lord for the blessing of being able to raise our animals here. And that's where it must be nice to be able to raise your own animals. It is. It is very nice to be able to raise our own animals. But it took years of fence building, and we still build fences. We were talking yesterday. I'm sorry, guys. I know this is distracting in the background, but it's got to get done. But we were talking just yesterday about building some more fence, because our fields, you can't see them from where you're at right now, but where the goats are, it's so funny about goats, because people don't like goats, but if you want a good pasture, goats will help you out, because where we have them fenced in, everywhere that we've ever had them fenced in, they come in and they eat the weeds down. They don't bother the grass much. They'll eat grass if there's nothing else there, but our goats anyway, we have the Nigerian dwarfs, and they prefer the weeds, and they'll eat the weeds down. And in the meantime, while they're eating the weeds, they're fertilizing. You understand what I mean? And the outcome is the most beautiful pastures that we have are where the goats run. Now, the pastures where our cows run, they are beautiful in the cooler times of the year, because we have more or less the cool type grasses. And in the summertime, the weeds try to take over. Well, my husband gets out and he mows, and he tries to keep the fields knocked down, keep the weeds knocked down. But pretty much, unless you spray some type of herbicide on it, you're not going to get rid of the weeds. And so we were talking just yesterday about maybe setting up some type of temporary fencing to run the goats you know, kind of move them around in the pastures and take care of weeds and get those knocked down and fertilize and make the grass grow and all of that sort of thing. So the fencing part of it, at least here, I don't know if this is on everybody's farm, but the fencing part of it here seems to never be done. And even if you get all your fencing done, there's still fencing repairs to be done. If you live in a place where you've got, like back in here in behind our house, we've got a bunch of woods. We've got fences that run through because we don't want the cows going to visit the neighbors. Well, trees fall. That's just nature. Trees fall when the wind gets up. Every once in a while, limbs will fall down over the fences. We've got to check the fences. We don't ride the fences on horses like they used to do, but we'll ride them on the side by side or we'll walk where we can't get it. But we have to make sure that the fence maintenance is kept up. So that's part of it. Another part of having cattle is the maintenance of the cattle. You've got to make sure that they're kept healthy. There's just things that need to be done. The little bulls, if you're going to make them into steers, you know, there's that part. But you've got to make sure that your mama cows are kept healthy and that they have the right stuff to eat and they have plenty of water. Just, you know, basic care. People that think that folks that farm and raise animals for food are just horrible people. Those people that think that, if you've ever been out to a family farm, I'm not talking commercial because I don't know what commercial farms do. I've never worked on a commercial farm. But I don't know. All I know is I'm pretty sure they take care of their stuff too, because it's a lot of money to lose if you're not taking care of stuff. But regardless, on a small farm like we have, you take care of your animals. Our animals all have names. And yes, we eat our animals. Not all of them. We don't eat all of our animals or we wouldn't have animals. But we do harvest our animals. And that's how we put meat on the table. Because, I'm sorry, I look at those prices in the store. And if I had to pay those prices that they are wanting in the store, I wouldn't be able to afford it either. It would, I would say it would be a good time to become vegetarian, but I saw the prices of the produce too. So these people that say it must be nice, yes, it is nice, but there's other ways. It's just like produce. It is, yeah, it must be nice. It is nice. It is nice to be able to go out and shop in my own garden. You can't see it, but I've got a little green wheelbarrow it's plastic, and it's got 4 little wheels on it that are plastic. I bought it for $10 at a garage sale, and I love it. Yesterday, when I came home from the store and had my bags of stuff that I picked up, that's what I rolled out to the car, or I don't even own a car, to the truck, loaded up the bags of stuff and pushed it to the house. Where there's a will, there's a way. But I use this little cart all over the place in the garden, and I just wheeled it out there and got to picking. And I picked my beans and put them in there. I picked tubs of tomatoes and all the things that I told you that I'd done. And so anyway, I'm sorry guys that the wind's blowing the hair right across my nose every time. Meanwhile, back at the ranch. But forgot where I was going. My train got derailed by a hair in the nose. But the being able to go out and pick my own produce must be nice. It is. It is nice. However, meat or produce, you don't have to, no matter what your physical capabilities are, your financial capabilities, your housing situation, there are things that you can do. And that's kind of what I like this YouTube channel to be. If you went back and watched, especially the early ones, I told people over and over again that this channel was created on behalf of my sons, because it was a way for me to share things, just what basic knowledge that I have, and pass along things that I may forget to tell them, just because when they don't live nearby. And so when I get to see them, the last thing I'm going to be talking to them about is gardening or canning or something like that, because we don't see each other often and we don't have enough time whenever we do. So that's why this channel was created, was to share some of this, and that way they'll be able to, once I'm gone, they'll be able to go back, and if they have a question about something, look it up. It's, Mama, I remember Mama having a video about that, and that they'll have it. But that is why I created this channel. But in the meantime, people started subscribing to the channel, which is still mind-boggling to me that y'all actually want to listen to me. But I'm certainly glad that you dropped by, and I'm glad you do, and I hope you continue. But I think it's just so we can share ideas and thoughts. And so if you have any ideas and thoughts on any of this, just put them down in the comments below of how to help each other. That's what we're trying to do, is help each other. And so some of my ideas on how to make it as nice for other people as it is for me, our situations are different. Our neighbors that live just down the way, our neighbors that live right here, we have similar lives, but not identical lives. We raise goats and cows. They raise cows and sheep. It's just, things are different. We have different lifestyles where we're getting close to retirement. They're young folks with children. So things are different. But no matter what your situation, like I said, if you even live in an apartment, there are things that you can do to help you be able to have those nicer things, food, without spending an arm and a leg. I think the skid steer's fixing to start up, so you're probably going to hear that noise in the background here in just a minute. But no matter where you live, you probably have somebody nearby that gardens. You probably have a farmer's market, or some type of a bazaar, or an outdoor market, or maybe even just a market that specializes in fresh, whole foods. And I don't mean the grocery chain, but just sometimes local supermarkets will sell locally grown food. If nothing else, if you've got access to Facebook Marketplace, people will have things on there that are locally grown, and get some more beans out, that are locally grown and sometimes are much less expensive than you're going to find in the grocery store. Now, not always. You've got to kind of look around, but Don't knock a farmer either that's just trying to sell something for what he has in his produce. But that being said, look around and see what you can find locally. Sometimes you can find local small farmers that are selling beef, that are selling lamb, that are selling chicken, duck. Yeah, there's so many things that you can find if you just look for it. Now, you've heard me, if you've watched any of my other videos like this, you've heard me say this before. This is not anything new, but this is a reminder because a lot of us need reminders sometimes because it's easier to complain than it is to do. But look for those things that you would like to have that somebody else may have. Now, what if you've got, I don't know, a neighbor that grows figs? I'll just use figs because I've got a fig tree here that every year it dies back to the ground every year. Every year it comes back up. It's been doing it for years. And by about September, it'll have little tiny green figs on it. And then promptly right before they can get ripe, they freeze every year. So if I want figs, I have to get them from somewhere else because I ain't ever going to get a fig here, I don't think. Now the chainsaws are going to start up. Welcome to the farm. But if I'm ever going to have figs, I'm going to have to get them somewhere else. Now, what if I don't have the money to buy figs? Well, what do I have? I have green beans. What if I want to trade green beans for figs? Or maybe my apple trees. You know, I have 3 apple trees, and they're not huge apple trees. It's not like I've got this massive orchard or anything. But every year, as faithful as they could be for the last several years since they got big enough to produce, they just, every year, it's more and more. The crop out there this year is so heavy. Every year I have a lot. So what if I have more apples than I can use? Can I trade them for something else? Possibly. All you have to do is ask. Ask people. If maybe somebody's got, I don't know, maybe somebody's got those figs that I want and they will trade me figs for apples. Yeah, possibly. I've got to find somebody with figs that might want apples. That takes a little bit of work. So if I want them, I'll do it. You know, we're motivated by what we want bad enough. If you want something bad enough, you'll work harder for it. I've mentioned the Tightwad Gazette books before by Amy Decision. And you know, Miss Amy, when she wrote those books, she was sharing just tips and tricks of what they used to pay off all of their bills and become debt-free. But it was their own tips and tricks that they used. And around here, what do we use? Well, what I share with you, we try to grow our own things and do as much as we can ourselves. But back to, it must be nice. I don't know how many of you know or how long you've been watching this channel, but if you've been watching very long, you know that me and my husband both still work full-time. And here full-time. But we both work out of the home full-time. So it's not like this is our full-time job and this is all we have to do. We come home and, well, the last few nights, let me get some more beans here. The last few nights we have come home, eat, which means we had to fix something to eat, and then we went to work on doing some some pre-tear down on the barn. We were taking some metal off of the sides to get it ready to start taking the metal off of the roof, and that meant working till dark every night. So it must be nice. Well, again, it is nice, but it requires work, and that's no matter what you do. If you are a canner, and I know some of you are because you share with me in the comments of the wonderful things that you're making, and if you are canning right now, let me know what you're putting up, or freezing, or whatever you're doing with it. Let me know what you're doing. But, you know, there's so many things that have to be done, and you just have to prioritize. Because, you know, if you're a canner, you can't put things off forever, or your produce will start ruining. But if you like to can, maybe you don't have a garden, but you like to can. Again, visiting those farmers markets, making friends with a neighbor that'll maybe trade something for you. Maybe you don't grow a thing. Maybe you don't have an apple tree or whatever. What else do you have that you could barter? Do you sew? Do you paint? Maybe you could paint, I don't know, a family portrait for them. I'm just throwing out ideas. You know what you can do. Maybe it's something else that you could do, but maybe you could bake the cake for them. Whatever, that you could trade a person for something that they do, or they have. Now, there may be people that turn you down. As a matter of fact, I had to turn down, it's a fella that bought a place up here. I'm sorry, again, I know it's noisy, but he's bought a place, but he doesn't live here full time. And he asked if he planted a garden, would I can his stuff for him? And I politely had to tell him, I'm sorry, I don't have time, because between working full time and doing everything I need to do here, I don't have time to do full-time canning for somebody else. I said, but I can teach you how. Now, he didn't apparently want to learn because he didn't take me up on that offer, but there are so many things that you can do, but you've got to want to put forth the effort to do it. Now, I'm not including, sorry, I keep ducking down here, but I'm digging out the last remaining of these green beans that I'm doing before I start on the next beans. But, you know, a lot of things you just got to want to do, and I'm not talking to those people that just physically cannot. I had an aunt that had rheumatoid arthritis, and when it got to a certain point, she couldn't do any of those type of things anymore because her hands wouldn't allow her to. So I get that I'm sure that there's some that just physically cannot do. At that point, then maybe you've got to rely on somebody else to help you get more of the things that you need. But back to it must be nice. I have to say, it is nice. It is nice to finally get to a point in my life that we have the place that we have. And I told y'all here a while back that, I think it was at the first of the year, that this is the 25th anniversary of us purchasing this place. And so Mountain Patriot Homestead is 25 years old this year. You know, it's turning 25 as our nation turns 250, so, you know, it's a good year. But when we first started with this place, I'll try to throw up some pictures here. But when we first got this place, it was a field with a pond. And it had about 10 acres of trees with it. But I'm telling you, that was all that was here, was a field full of blackberry bushes. Blackberry bushes were taking over. The wild blackberries up here are very prolific, and they love to share the wealth, and they will spread all over the place if you don't do something about them. But we bought this place, and Pepper, you moving the camera, honey. Sorry about that. But when we bought this place, that's all it was. But when we saw this place, we knew that this was where we wanted to be. Now, not where we wanted to be when we thought we were going to be, because we had originally said we would retire up here. Well, I got to thinking about it, and it was like, you know, if we wait until we retire, we probably will never come up here, and we'll probably be too old to enjoy it if we do. So, well, let's move on up here. So we did. Digging out more beans here, guys. But, so we did. And we got moved up here and started building. And went from there. And we built as we had the money. You know, people that think, oh, it must be nice to have the house you have. Well, it is. It's a little under 900 square feet. The porch adds about as much, the porch almost doubles the square footage of this house because it goes all the way around. We didn't have that immediately, so it must be nice. It is, because I've said before, the porch is my favorite room in the house. But we didn't have it from the very beginning. When we first started, we climbed a ladder to go in the front door. That's how we got in and out. But we had to build as we had money and we had time. Because, again, we were both working. And during those first few years when we were building, some of it I was overseas. So I wasn't always here. So my husband and youngest son were doing a lot of the finish up stuff. And when you own a house, you never finish. There's always something to be done, if not to be done to finish it originally. It's just maintenance. You know, there's always things to be done when you own a home. But it is nice to be able to own our home. And we've shared updates that we've made, like last summer where we had the house painted and we built the shutters. Can you believe it's been a year? Where did that year go? Wow. Anyway, it's hard to believe. But I've shared those things with you. When we were painting the porch rails and all of that, there is just constantly something. Redoing chicken house. There's always projects. Unfortunately, some of our projects have got delayed. We were going to have already started because we were just getting ready to start on a bookcase for our first grandchild that will be arriving here before long. And well, the wood that we were going to use was stored in the barn that burnt down, that burned. It was some of the wood that burned. So we lost that wood, so now we've got to cut more wood, but that's okay, because there's always trees that we can get, and so don't worry, kids, we're going to get your bookcase, we promise, we love y'all. But that is always more projects because there's always things to be done. I don't know what that sound is, but I think it's maybe the sky lift, but that would make a dog howl. What a terrible sound. But there are always chores, there's always projects, but that's okay because we enjoy it. This is our happy place. And here comes another hurricane gust wind, so bear with me. I'll get a drink while we're doing this. This is Mountain Dew. Diet Mountain Dew. I'll tell you, that wind may mess up the videos, but it sure feels good. It won't here in a few hours because it'll feel like a blast out of an oven, but for now, it feels good. I'm gonna dig out these last few of these green beans, so if I disappear off the camera, that's where I've gone. I hadn't fell out of the chair or anything, but I'm just digging out these last few green beans. I'm almost done with them, and then I can start on the runners. And I've been talking to a lot of people that were saying their green beans are already done for the year. Well, some more of that intensive planting that I talk about in some of my videos has helped keep the ground a little more moist and has, I think it just helps bugs, moisture, a little bit of everything. So my green beans are still producing, which I'm glad of. That's another project to do, is we're going to have to be redoing raised beds probably before we plant out there again, because my raised beds are a number of years old and they're starting to just come apart because, you know, they're wood and metal, and the wood after a while just gives way because it's been in the weather all these years, in the moisture, in the heat. But you know what? It is nice to have them, so not complaining at all. But what is it that you have or that you want that fits the "it must be nice" category? That it is nice that you have it, or you're able to do it, or you have access to it. What do you have that's around you that's such? Or what do you feel like that maybe somebody else has that it must be nice that you wish you could have? And I just think of places that I've seen in other parts of the world where it would be nice if they had clean drinking water, if they just had better sanitation systems, if they had access to better health care. You know, those are all things that we have. Now, sometimes we may not feel that we have the greatest, but when you compare it to people that have none, just having any is better than none. But, you know, what are some of the things that you think of that it must be nice if you could have it? I'm sitting here and I'm trying to think of what it would be nice if I could have. I guess it would be, you know, if I were going to say it must be nice, would be some of these places where, you know, the people own hundreds of acres and they've got homes where all of their children can live right there and they're close and everybody works together, and you know, they have their there goes chainsaw again. and they're able to have their family right there. Well, you know, that would be nice. That would be nice to have my children close. However, on the other hand, I'll look at it from this way. My children all have good jobs. My children, at least to the best of Mama's knowledge, are relatively healthy. They all seem to be happy. And they've got good women. They take care of their families. And they're just good men. And out of everything that I could think of, I can't think of anything better than that legacy, to have 3 grown men that I am so proud of, because that is nice. It is nice to know that the young men that you raised from birth are now doing so well for themselves, and it must be nice. Oh yeah, it is nice. So anyway, that is my video for today. I know that, you know, again, I'm not in the kitchen, I'm not cooking, you know, anything or any of that kind of stuff like some of y'all prefer, but it's another talking head video. I'm out here. I've got to go get these beans put up because I've got some more beans to shell. Different kind of beans. I've just done green beans. Now I'm doing the runners. And I've already got the yard-long beans put up this morning. So, just got to keep going. I've got little tomatoes in the dehydrator that I'll show you in another video what I'm doing with them. I had an overabundance, and I picked another tub full this morning of little salad tomatoes that there's no way I can eat all them little tomatoes. So I'm dehydrating them, and I'm going to show you in another video what I'm going to do with them. And I'll show you also what I'm doing with the huge crop of onions that I got this year. God has blessed us. And out of everything, that is the nicest thing of all. And I hope y'all come back, because we love y'all. We'll see you again real soon. Mountain Patriot Homestead, signing out.